Spurs have advanced into the fourth round of the FA Cup to face Aston Villa, and we beat Tamworth by 3-0 yesterday. We're going to start off with the match review, and yeah, just about got through by the skin of our teeth. It was 3-0, so I think it sounds a lot more convincing than it was. A lot more stronger lineup, wasn't it, than maybe we anticipated. Maybe we thought Dorrington would play, Jan Min Hyuk, and these kind of players. Mikey Moore did get his first appearance in a while, and you know, I mean, Tamworth started at a million miles per hour, didn't they? They really stuck it on us in the first opening 5 to 10 minutes. They were getting down our side with the winger from Zara on the left-hand side. You know, I thought he got into good positions, didn't he? Pedro Porro was coming under pressure, and they were having chances. Kinski was forced into a save literally in the first minute.
Yeah, I think other than that, I don't remember too many other chances they had, but they were up for it. It's their big day, obviously. This is basically one of the biggest days in the club's history, and obviously
I would say
maybe the biggest day in the club's history, and they were absolutely played out their skin. And you've got to give a lot of credit to Tamworth, because this is a team of part-timers. This is a team that last season weren't even in the National League. They got promoted, and they had, as you say, a player who's a shop assistant at Zara on the left wing. They had a surveyor in goal. They had a financial advisors playing as well. So this is a team that, you know, only train 2 or 3 times a week, and up against a team full of internationals, full of experienced players, full of multi-million-pound Premier League footballers. And they really did give Tottenham a tough ride, and Tottenham really struggled, especially to break Tamworth down. They really struggled to create chances. I thought Tamworth defended amazingly. They were very organised, and Spurs, from their point, they clearly, I don't want to make excuses, but definitely the pitch, you could see it was bobbling all over the place. They was definitely having struggles with it, but we didn't really adapt to the situation. We just struggled to really get any patterns of play going. We struggled to really show the quality. The only one, especially in the first half, was really Maddison and Bissouma, that were trying to show they were Premier League footballers above the level of their opposition. I think the other players kind of struggled to adapt, especially in that first half, to the situation. I mean, apart from Maddison had a couple of efforts, I don't remember too many chances we had in that first half, which is very, very, it's quite pathetic, to be honest. When you're playing a bunch of part-timers, you should be having fun with them. You should be toying with them. It should be easy. Not to say that, not to take anything away from Tamworth, because they were brilliant. I thought, as you said, Noru down that left-hand side was, really at times giving Pedro Porro a tough time on with his running at direct style at him, and he did force Kinski into an early save. Obviously, every time they got a throw-in or a free kick, just launched it into the penalty box. Kinski had to deal with a lot of those situations, and I thought he dealt with them really well, to be fair.
Throw-ins, one of them went all the way and hit the post.
Yeah, hit the back post. Incredible. Tommy Tonks, what a name. And
classic non-league name, man, Tommy Tonks.
And he was, his throw-ins were really was really strong, and that was something that we had to deal with. And obviously, it's a small pitch, and the 3G and all those circumstances of Tamworth, on their home soil. I think kind of even the playing field on the day, especially I would say in that first half, and Tottenham really struggled with it. Obviously, you always got a sense that it would be fine in the end, but there were definitely times, I guess, when we get into the second half, there were definitely times where that was under threat for sure, like in the last minute. But first half, we just never really got going at all. We never got any passing rhythm going. Every time Tamworth got the ball, they were just launching it forward, long balls. And definitely that pitch was something that we were struggling to adapt to. I think that was clear, because every pass was under hit, every pass was bobbling, and we just never got any passing rhythm going. But when you're a professional team, you should be able to adapt to that.
The reality is, Archie Gray said it after the game, didn't he? He's like, all of us have played on pitches like this. All of us have had our learning, and when we were younger, played quite regularly on pitches like this. So, I mean, it's not really an excuse when they're multi-million-pound professional footballers in the Premier League. Like, they should be able to play on any pitch and be able to adapt to the situation. I thought the passing on show, particularly in the first half, I mean, we couldn't get to a man in blue. I mean, Archie Gray kept passing it out of the pitch, particularly in the first 20 minutes. I thought Pape Sarr on the ball was really poor as well. And yeah, you're right. It was literally only Maddison that was looking to take a man on, looking to have a shot, and we couldn't break them down for love nor money. The chances that we were getting, the shots that we were getting on goal were all from like 25, 30 yards out, all from James Maddison. Second half comes, and I thought maybe some changes were in need at halftime. They didn't come, and Mikey Moore kind of came alive, didn't he, in the opening 25 minutes of the second half. He was really taking his man on down that left-hand side, putting balls in the box. There was one for Timo Werner with that header at the back stick where, Timo goes across the face of goal, and it was a goal line clearance. And there was a lovely ball from Brennan Johnson, wasn't there, that played Timo Werner through on goal. And Timo one-on-one. Against a non-league keeper, you've got to be scoring that.
Of course, and just classic how it was going for us on the day. All our best chances obviously fell to Werner, and with his confidence in front of goal, at the moment he just couldn't put it in the back of the net. Albeit I thought the header was actually a good finish. Unfortunately, it was off the line. But obviously, when you're one-on-one, he's got time to pick his spot or around the keeper or dink it over the keeper, and he's still unable to finish. And that obviously adds on to a plethora of just really bad misses he's had this season, especially for us. So carries on that kind of form. And as I said before the game, the only real reason I could see Ange going for Werner ahead of Lancashire from the start is because maybe he feels like if he can put Werner up front and get him a couple of goals and boost his confidence, maybe that could turn his mood. And I think the opposite happened. Obviously, he struggled. He missed more big chances, even against a non-league side. And probably his confidence is lower than ever because he got taken off on what was it at the end, or was 70 minutes?
Werner got taken off at the end of the game.
At the end of the game, didn't last till for extra time, and I think this carries on a run of just really abject, poor, confidence-sapping performances from Timo Werner, and especially when you're getting chances against a non-league team. It's just ridiculous that even on that occasion he still can't put them away. That just goes to show how low his confidence is at the moment, I think. And I think the most damning thing is when he went through, no one was really confident he was going to score, and that's just where he's at the moment, Timo Werner. And look, the reality is, the longer that game went on, the more nervous we were getting because you just know that. I think the players probably started to realise that the longer this game went on, if Tamworth were to get a bit of luck and just get a goal from somewhere, the stories, the headlines, the moment that would have been if we would have went on to lose that game would have gone down in FA Cup history as probably one of, if not the biggest shock in FA Cup history. Only twice in FA Cup history has a non-league team beaten a Premier League team, and one of them was Lincoln against Burnley, was a few years ago. And the other one was Norwich and Luton, but I don't know how long ago that was.
None of them, a top six side or anything like that. So
I think Burnley got relegated that year.
The story was there to be written, right? And Tamworth was so close to sealing that with a bit of a better finish right at the end. They're winning that game 1-0.
But they were growing in confidence through the game. They had that centre back.
We were hanging on at the end.
They were that centre back doing a pirouette up against. I can't remember who it was, but he did a pirouette in the middle when he's being pressed. I think it was by Maddison and I think Johnson. He does literally a Zidane-esque pirouette in the middle. And he said after the game, I've never done that before. I don't know what came over me. He said, I'm never going to do that again. But I just felt it in the moment. I was like, okay, bloody hell. They're really feeling it. And clearly they're probably, outperforming themselves and playing out their skin. And, as you said, as the minutes went on and the game ticked on, we were getting more and more nervous. I think Porro, the stat on the day, he lost the ball 45 times, which is a ridiculous amount for a game. He's losing the ball once every other minute, which is a pretty ridiculous stat. And you could see in the game he was just lumping it forward. He was getting a bit nervous about the situation. Every time he got the ball, he was just lumping it. There was no sense of keeping playing our football. We were just lumping it forward all the time, and. Yeah, then we had that moment in the it was literally the 96th minute, right at the end of the game. They get a free kick on the halfway line. They launch it in. The ball then has a bit of a pinball around in the penalty box. I think they have a shot blocked by Bissouma. It falls to their centre back, and we are just so lucky he scuffs his finish. And
I think it was from. Oh, you're talking about that one. Oh, it was from. Wasn't it from the corner? Because the guy was in the corner and he sold Dragoshin down the river, and then he took a shot and Kinski saved it, and then from that corner they get that big chance.
Maybe the corner came from the long free kick then, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, well, they had that chance right.
He literally dragged it past Dragoshin, no pun intended. He wasn't there.
Well, that was that moment where I thought Solanke was definitely fouled, and the referee didn't give it, and then they got the corner from that. That was it, wasn't it? And he had a shot on the near post, and it was blocked by Bissouma. And then the corner comes in. There was a bit of pinball. Bissouma blocks one of the efforts, and then it falls to their centre back, I think it is. And his just scuffs it, and it's actually had such a good chance. And if he gets good connection, you know, it would have gone through everyone and gone into the corner. Luckily, he scuffed it. Kinski was able to hang on to it, and that's how close we were to getting knocked out by Tamworth, which is quite ridiculous, to be honest, how we were that close. And that should never be the case when you're playing against part-time footballers. You should never have left it that close to going out. It was ridiculous, to be honest, that it was so tight.
That 90 minutes of football was embarrassing. Playing against that level of opposition, you look at the other teams who they've played in the FA Cup this weekend. You look at Man City, they played Salford, I think they're League 2, 8-0. You're looking at Liverpool, who played Accrington Stanley, who are above National League level, I believe, and they won 4 or 5-0. So you're looking at how easy teams are dispatching of like the lower leagues. And then we play Tamworth, who were the lowest ranked team in the competition, and we had to go to extra time, and we could have easily lost it. It was an embarrassing 90 minutes.
I do think it would have been different at home, but obviously there's no excuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course it would have been different at home, but it's still like you cannot go to extra time with this kind of opposition. You've got to be putting them away
especially ahead of an
in
North
90
London
minutes.
derby.
You have to be putting them away in 90 minutes. And Timo Werner, I'm telling you, that the guy that they had on the left wing, that's part-time worker at Zara, looked a lot better than Timo Werner on the day. He really did. At least he was able to take on a man and have shots on goal and provide a bit of quality for the team. Timo, I thought Timo, every time the ball was coming to him, apart from a couple of times, the ball was bouncing off him. He couldn't control it. He looked like a National League standard player yesterday.
I just don't understand why he didn't give Lancashire a go. It didn't make sense because we know how Tamworth are going to set up. We know that they're going to be very, very deep and try and frustrate Tottenham, and there's not going to be any space for someone like Timo. So I don't understand the logic in playing him up front when Lancashire's sitting right there, and if Lancashire's not working, you bring on Solanke, and we obviously had to turn to Solanke on the 65-minute mark, or on the hour mark. But I just don't understand the logic in starting Timo. I think that was one of the big decisions he got wrong. And I didn't have a massive problem with the lineup, but because look, if you're going to go strong, fair enough, try and get the game won. Obviously, it didn't work, but the one issue I did have was why start Timo up front. I understand if you're going to start him on the left because you don't think Mikey Moore's ready, but you decided to give Mikey more minutes. So I don't understand why start Timo up front. It didn't make sense to me.
I don't even start not playing Yang Min Hyuk. He's just come to the club. This is the perfect game to give him minutes in. So look, we went strong and we just about got over the line in extra time. And Brennan Johnson, I thought again, like he put in a pretty anonymous display. Apart from a few moments of quality, that ball to Timo Werner was class, and the finish as well in the second half in the extra time was class as well. So
and he made the own goal as well.
He made the own goal as well. So you're talking about. We keep talking about Brennan Johnson in this light, don't we? Like he doesn't seem to do anything for the majority of the game, but he pulls up moments of quality.
That's what I keep saying about him. I've been consistent about Brendan. He's not the best player in the world. He's not the best winger in the world, and he'll frustrate you. But he's effective because he'll come up with something. It's not even moments of magic because it's not like he'll just come up. He'll just pick the ball up and like shoot it from 30 yards like Bale. It's not that kind of thing. But he'll just he's never like out of the game in a sense that he can always put in a deadly cross, or he can always come up with a finish in a good position. He always keeps going, always tries to get in those positions. And look, by and large, this season, as has been shown, he does tend to come up with something more often with that. And he's our top goal scorer in all competitions. He's starting in recent weeks to get a few more assists as well. So he's an effective player. Yes, he probably shouldn't be our starting right winger, but is he good enough to be a squad player? And is he a player who, when you need him to, can he come up with just a moment where he can get the ball in the back of the net or set up a goal? I think he's shown he can. And as you said yesterday, he didn't have a good game at all, but he still came up with 3 moments.
He should be on our bench. That's the reality.
Which were decisive. He can be a decisive player, whether it be getting in that back post, whether it be shooting the ball across the face of goal with a clinical finish, whether it be a cross along the ground from the right wing. Those are things he's very good at, and he can be good at very consistently. And you've got to remember, he's still, 22, 20... Is he 22 or 23 now? He's still fairly young, so he's still got a lot of room to grow. But I understand the frustrations people have with him, and I understand he annoys a lot of fans because there are times you look at me like this guy just lacks so much quality. And sometimes, we give the ball out to him and he's just really careless with it, and he gives the ball away, and sometimes he looks like he's lacking a bit of technical ability. But at the end of the day, he is an effective player in that final third. And as long as he's doing that, Ange will keep picking him.
Yeah, but the reality is we do need better on that right wing to provide competition for him. That is the reality.
And I think if we had another one, I don't think Decky would be playing there so much. I think he's only playing there because he knows that Brennan's limited and we need another option there.
Yeah, and also he's the only one that we have, so he has to keep. You can't overplay and play him every game week in, week out.
Obviously, I think Odegaard would have got more time.
Odegaard as well, yeah. But, we're not going to see him till at least February. One player I thought that kept up his standards for pretty much the whole time he was on the pitch was Yves Bissouma. He was the one that really controlled that midfield. He kept snatching at the balls and he kept, retaining possession and driving us forward, albeit it didn't come to much for the 90 minutes. But he was one that really did keep up his standards.
He was the one who kind of seemed to have that bit of arrogance about him where he's like, I'm a Premier League player, I'm just going to bully you every time, I'm going to get to the ball before you every time, I'm going to take you on every time because I know I'm better than you. He seemed to have that kind of air of
he had such dominance in the middle of the park.
It seemed as though the other players I don't know whether something in their head was like, if this goes wrong, and they were looking at the headlines in their head while the game was going on. But Bissouma just had that confidence about him where he just wasn't worried about the situation at all, and he dominated in that middle. And every time he came up against a one-on-one duel with a Tamworth player, he was coming out on top. And look, I don't want to. This isn't to say like he shouldn't be doing that, because of course he should. They're a National League side, but the reality is he was one of the only ones who was doing that. So credit to him, but he shouldn't have been the only one, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a mentality issue within the squad, because I feel like I've said it time and time again. I said it after the game yesterday that these players, when they play against the bigger teams, the Liverpools, the Manchester Uniteds, the Man Cities, even the Arsenals to a certain extent, they perform more times than not. I know we just got battered 6-3 by Liverpool, but we just beat them 1-0 last week in a really good performance, and we can perform on a regularity against these teams. But when we come up against a so-called lesser opposition, we just don't put in the same sort of performance levels, and this has been happening throughout the season, and it happened quite a bit last season as well.
Yeah, and that needs to change, and that's what gets you to being a really good team, when you're beating all these teams consistently and you have the same mentality going into every game. And that's something that Ange needs to fix. And being taken to extra time against Tamworth is probably a new low for this team, and that's something that I'm sure, even though Ange after the game was quite, didn't show any frustration or anger, or was like, what, the objective was to get through the next round and that's what we're doing. I'm sure after the game he'll be talking to some of these players and saying like, what the hell happened out there, like why were you not able to show any sort of quality on the ball like you have done for a lot of other games this season you have. So I'm sure he put on a bit of a braver face for the cameras. But the reality is it did finish 3-0, and we obviously took it away from them in extra time, and we ended up it was comfortable in the end. But it shouldn't have needed to be that close, and that's quite concerning that it was so close, to be honest. But I always felt like, obviously, once it went to extra time, as I said before the game, the main difference between these sides is fitness and that ability to exert energy for longer periods. And I thought once it went to extra time,
Val did come on and make a bit of a difference. His confidence, he's playing with such confidence at the moment, Lucas Bergwijn. I know it's against a Tamworth side, but again, he comes on and makes an impact. I thought Dom Solanke couldn't really get into the game.
Yeah,
when he
crashed. No data. Oh, we're back, I think.
Yeah,
I think we're back.
Sorry about that, guys. And Decky, basically Decky and Sonny really just swayed the game in our advantage, and Jed Spence as well. So I mean, it just never had to come to that, though. That's why I was so frustrated yesterday, because we gave these players a rest for a reason, because we've got a North London derby coming up midweek, and we're playing a National League side who are part-timers, the only part-timers in the National League. So we should have been able to just win the game with the players that we have and give these guys a much-needed rest, which with a big game coming up.
I completely agree. I don't disagree with that at all. We should have been outside. We should have been able to play a bunch of youngsters and still see the game through under those situations. So the fact that we made it such a struggle was not good enough, and it's a bit embarrassing. And but the reality is we still won the game. We still won 3-0. I know we needed the big guys to come on, and unfortunately we needed them. It wasn't as if they came on where we're already winning. We needed them to come on and provide that little bit of quality, and it's very concerning that even against non-league teams, the quality that we had below them still wasn't good enough to even create a high level of chances or really put the game to bed before those big players came on. As long as we go far in this competition. I don't, if we go far, no one's going to remember how it started, and that's the reality. And as much as it on the day, and as we mull over this result and performance, it's not one we're going to want to remember, and it's one we're going to want to put to the back of our minds. And it's one that was a bad day for Tottenham, even though we won the game 3-0. But we win on Wednesday, we get a result on Wednesday, no one's going to remember this game. That's the reality, and we're through to the next round, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, but, this is pre the Arsenal game and the day after the Tamworth game.
Yeah, so I said right now is the time to
fresh in the mind, and yeah, exactly. So, and that's exactly what we're doing. But, when the changes happen, it takes for our own goal on the 100 of the scrappiest goals to put us 1-0 in the lead. I just couldn't celebrate that goal. Right, I just could not do it. It was embarrassing the way we go 1-0 up and how long it took.
For me, I was just relieved we got the goal. I didn't want it to go to penalties because all of a sudden it's a 50-50 at that point. So we got the goal. I was happy about it, and that's what we needed at that time because we'd embarrassed ourselves for long enough during that game. So the fact that we took the lead was a big relief for me. So, look, your team scoring, whatever the situation, for me, you celebrate it.
And that's exactly how I thought it would go in terms of once we get one goal, I thought the floodgates would open. I was saying that pretty much throughout the whole 90 minutes. And it was just, that's what the game was missing, just that one chance that we can put in the back of the net. Because if we would have gone 1-0 up at any point in the 90 minutes, we would have scored a couple. And that's exactly what happened in extra time. Kulusevski's goal was really nice. Sonny, nice pass in behind the defender, and Kulusevski shifts to the right and slots it. And really did. And Brennan Johnson, really nice goal as well with his pass from Kulusevski. Well, kind of a pass from Kulusevski, and Brennan Johnson with a really nice finish.
Yeah, and at the end of it, it was fairly comfortable, and I don't think Tamworth ever had any opportunity after extra time, which you expect, as I said, because their fitness was they're obviously waning. I thought they were waning a bit even near the end of the game, despite they had that chance right at the end. I thought that you could see they were starting to run on empty a bit, and once extra time came, it's probably gutting for them because last year they would have gotten a replay, and that replay would have been massive for them in terms of the money. And
I do feel for them in that sense.
Yeah, and this year went to extra time where they were never going to win in extra time. It was always going to go against them. That's the reality. With the fitness of Premier League players, it was never going to be. They were never going to have a chance in extra time to overcome that. So it's a shame for them, to be honest. And look, as I keep saying, they deserve so much credit because I thought they were brilliant. I really did. I thought they really, as much as Tottenham was so poor and were pretty pathetic, you got to give so much credit to Tamworth because they also had to play out their skin to keep it as it was, and they did. And they made it so difficult on the day. They were just awkward opponents. They were just lumping the ball in the box all the time. They were very, very organised, and credit to their manager because to do that with the level of training they got against a Premier League team is not easy, and they deserve all the credit, I think, Tamworth, and it's such a shame for them that it ended how it did, and it could have been an unbelievable story. And look, taking us to extra time is something those players will remember for the rest of their lives, 100%. It's that kind of moment. And you saw, I don't know if you saw on TikTok after the game, there was one of the Tamworth players who got a Bergvall shirt signed by all the players, and he was just absolutely buzzing, and fair play to them because they took a Premier League side to extra time. So, and this is a team who have day jobs. They're literally going to go back to their day jobs, and there's going to be players there like talking to customers saying, I kept Werner in my pocket yesterday. I went past Pedro Porro. They're going to be saying these things to to their customers as a player who plays part time. So they deserve so much credit for that. But we go through to the next round.
Yeah, we do, and it just. It was a bit of a culture shock probably to the players as well with the changing rooms. They were changing in. Do you see that walk that they did into the stadium as well, just crowded by players? Ange Postecoglou literally had fans literally in his ear pretty much all game. It was a sight to behold. And obviously it all encapsulated in that first minute. Well, not the first, just before the game when the net falls down. And then you got bloody Tamworth players getting on each other's shoulders to fix it. It's just like, what is going on here?
It was proper. This is what the FA Cup is all about. It's about ties out yesterday.
Proper, roots level football.
Yeah,
grassroots.
That is what the FA Cup is all about. That's why we love the FA Cup, and it's a proper leveller in that sense. That's exactly how Ange put it, and I thought it was a real leveller. Just the the pitch, the crowd, the stadium, the facilities, as you say, the players fixing the net before the game, the AstroTurf pitch, all these different things. It just seemed to level the playing field yesterday, and they gave us a real tough game, and that's why we all love the FA Cup, for those kind of occasions. And in a sense, it's brilliant for Tamworth that on the day they really made it, and they nearly made it an amazing story, because it would have been also a shame for them anyway if they would have been battered 5-6-7-0. Like it could have, we should really be beating a team like that, to be honest. But fair play to them. They didn't embarrass themselves whatsoever. They, in fact, quite the opposite. And it was a day that town and that team, those fans will remember for a long time.
In terms of the FA Cup, in the next round we did get Aston Villa away, which is a incredibly tough tie. I think one of 3 or 4 all Premier League ties. I think Brighton, Chelsea is another one.
And also, not only is there, I think there's 4 Premier League ties, but of the other ties of the Premier League teams, I think only one of them was drawn at home. So all of the other teams are away. So there could well be. I think there's only a maximum of 13 Premier League teams that can go into the next round.
Yeah.
So already it's starting to whittle down a bit.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be an interesting tie. It's obviously in between a really, sandwiched in between 2 big games for us. Liverpool away in the Carabao Cup semi-final, and then the game against Manchester United at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So going to have some player. We're going to need some players back to manage that week successfully. But I think it's a tie that is going to be obviously very hard, because Aston Villa are a very good side, but it's a winnable tie. It's a
winnable tie, but obviously the annoyance is Villa have a free week going into it, and we have obviously got probably what's likely to be an energy-sapping semi-final. Whether we win or lose, it's going to be, we're going to have to put everything into that semi-final to try and get through. Hopefully we got injured players back, and maybe we can rotate a bit. And we have, the last 2 games against Villa, we've got a good record, 4-1 and 4-0. So on that sense, we know we have the beating of Unai Emery's side. Even in the game they did beat us last year, we should have won that game as well. That probably had enough chances to win that game 4-2. So we definitely have the beating of them. But we know that probably the FA Cup is quite important for them as well this season. We know Unai Emery is also a good cup manager, and they've got that free weekend. And I think a fresh Villa side is also a different kind of prospect to when they've maybe played in midweek and they've had to use some of the same players. Their energy levels are a bit lower. So I think it's going to be extremely difficult. I think it's one where I'm confident we can give them a game. It just depends on the situation we're at the time, because I don't know what players we're going to have back. I don't know what signings we're going to have through the door. I don't know what form we're going to be on when we play them. So I think all that will come to a head. But it's an exciting tie. It's probably the tie of the round, and it's one I'm looking forward to. It should be a really good game, whatever happens. It should be a really good game. But right now, do we go into favourites? Probably not with the bookies, I would say. I think Villa will probably be favourites.
I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be very tight.
We could be favourites by the time it comes around. But
you look at it as well with the Liverpool game just 3 or 4 days beforehand. We don't know what day the Villa game is going to be on. Let's hope it's as late as possible.
Hope it's a Monday, but probably they'll put it on a Sunday, knowing the.
Yeah, they don't do us any favours at any point. But that Liverpool game could easily go to extra time. We are 1-0 up, and we're going to Anfield into the Lions' Den. So if they win the game by 1 goal, then it goes to extra time because there's no away goals.
Those 3 days against Liverpool and Villa could either be, will be either on cloud 9 or in the trenches, probably.
Pretty much, yeah.
It could be incredible. If
we could be in a cup final and an FA Cup 5th round, or we could be in an FA Cup 5th round and no cup. I mean, first and foremost, let's get past this Liverpool game.
It's a massive 3 days.
Yeah.
Or 4 days, whatever it is. Massive for our season. That could really set up our season for what could be glory or like nothing we all any of us expect. So it could be an incredible few days there. And also, 4 of our last 5 cup ties have been Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and now Aston Villa. So if we do anything in the cups this season, we've had to do it the hard way.
Yeah, especially at Tamworth away. But yeah,
enough, that's probably the one we performed the most, gave us the most difficulty.
Well, yeah, because that's the only one that we didn't win in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you have it. That is the match review. Spurs sneak past Tamworth at the Lamb Stadium or Lamb Ground in the 3rd round of the FA Cup, as we saw Arsenal go out to Manchester United on the same day. And all the Arsenal tears has been floating around social media, which we love to see.
That also helped us put that performance to the back of our minds, I think.
Definitely, because we turned it in, we were waiting for the FA Cup draw, weren't we? And I think you saw on stream my mood go from down there to like up there as the stream progressed.
Yeah, exactly. And also, what was also great about that is the fact that they went to penalties and they had to use all that energy as well.
They had a few injury problems as well.
Yeah, and they were probably watching us thinking, oh, they've gone to extra time, they're using all that energy going into Wednesday, and then they had to go to extra time and they lost as well. So I think psychologically, when you have exert all that energy and you end up losing as well, I think that's it's a double blow. And as you say, Jesus looks like he's picked up a serious injury. I mean,
ACL, they're saying.
I never like to see a player pick up that serious an injury, but in terms of the context of Wednesday, that's a big blow for them. Calafiori was out with a muscle injury. I don't know if he's going to be fit. Looks like Timber went off with a tight hamstring. Is he going to be fit for Wednesday? So they lost. So a lot of problems for Arsenal as well going into that game. So definitely watching them struggle and lose in the end of the day was definitely a mood changer for sure.
All right, well, that is the match review. Spurs